Cheers from Brazil. Welcome to FixerBrazil Podcast, the show where we talk to filmmakers, producers, and creators from all over the world about filming here in Brazil. I am your host, Tomás Cavalieri, and today I have the honor to speak to one of the most respected names in wildlife cinematography, Cristian Dimitrius. Cristian is an Emmy Award-winning cinematographer, biologist, director, and presenter. He has worked with global platforms like National Geographic, BBC, Discovery, History Channel, and Animal Planet, capturing breathtaking sequences in every major Brazilian biome, from the Pantanal to the Amazon to the Cerrado. On land, in the air, or underwater, he is known for pushing the boundaries of wildlife filmmaking with cutting-edge technology, a deep respect for nature, and a mission to inspire conservation through images. Hello, Cristian. Thank you very much for joining FixerBrazil Podcast. Welcome to the episode.
Hi, Thomas. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here and to share a little bit of my work and my visions, my art. And it's part of my mission to share the way I see nature and the way I think when I'm like filming nature to share with the world. So it's always a pleasure to share.
That's very generous from you, and I would love to hear all your takes on your work. So let's start from the beginning. You were born in Itajubá, Minas Gerais, in the Mantiqueira Highlands. And Itajubá means, in Tupi-Guarani, the indigenous language, means water that falls over the rocks, like waterfall. Do you think your birthplace shaped your connection with nature? Where did your passion for the wild begin?
Absolutely. I think it was that place that shaped me to do what I do today. So I was born between the mountains, in the Mantiqueira Mountains, and I don't remember not being in contact with nature, not being having a direct special connection with nature. While my friends were like doing general sports, volleyball, football, and all that, I was camping, I was hiking, doing mountain bikes, always going to nature, going to the waterfalls that are around the city. So I developed a really like passion for nature since I was very young, and I never lost that. So when I was growing up, like as a teenager, my choice for sports was always outdoor sports, mountain bike, and then going to the coast, which is like 3 hours from Itajubá, surfing, diving, and air climbing, mountain climbing. So everything was related to nature. Then to decide what to do as a career, I cannot choose anything different than that. So I went into biology, which was my focus to understand more about that word. And in biology, I discovered the diving to become a diver instructor. And there I discovered imaging, like filming. So I started filming underwater. That was my first contact with cameras when we start shooting, thinking about building like a sequence. It was on the water, and then we evolved to land, like the animals did from water to land. That was my path as a cinematographer. So as far as I remember, I was always in contact with nature, and I'm still while I'm working, and I'm also living in the Mantiqueira Mountains, which is like the place that I think I will always be around.
When you were working like as a scuba diving guide, filming tourists underwater, and then you said that you started discovering how to tell the stories. At what point this hobby became like a professional career? How did you transition from this early stages of filming underwater for the tourists and then started working with TV and TV productions and film
Mm.
productions?
So yeah, at the beginning for me was already a career, but not as a filmmaker. So my mission was to share my passion for nature with people. So I I used to take people to nature. So I used to take people like as a dive instructor. I would take my students to dive and share that passion. I was also a hiking guide, so I would take them to the mountains and share that. So taking people into nature was my first thing. With the camera, I discovered that I could take the nature to people, to the
Awesome.
opposite way, and then share a little more with those people. And then while I was shooting, like underwater, was already like a profession, not for documentaries, but to do the best we could to so they can have the experience filmed and then take back home and share with their parents, relatives, and friends and anyone. That was the beginning. And that taught me a lot because back then we didn't have time to edit. So to build a story, you have to have the story in your mind and then film piece by piece. And at the end, you would have the whole product, like non-linear, straight, like linear cut. Like
All
you
right.
film the first six scene, and then with the same in the same time, we go for the second. And that taught me to think about the process, the whole story before starting to shoot, before pressing the rec. So first, have the story in your mind, and that is with me until today. So I still have the sequence in my mind before starting shooting, and then you know when you're shooting what do you need for the cut. So I think that was the base. And then I worked with that for like 8 years and went to the Bahamas. I worked in the Bahamas for 3 years, and there we have a lot of like productions that would go to Nassau in the Bahamas and work in the dive center that I was, Stuart Coves. So we had documentaries, we have Hollywood films, and that opened my mind to maybe I could do a little more of that. I didn't have an idea that I want to be a wildlife filmmaker. I just wanted to be with nature. And then from there, I saw an opportunity. Well, that could be interesting. And then I started kind of going more towards that. After the Bahamas, I came back. I took like a sabbatical year off diving and everything. Kind of like I went too far, like 8 years straight, no holidays. Just that I needed a break. So I went too far. I was almost burned out of doing the thing that I loved.
Yeah.
So, and then a year off that, I kind of when my mind set again, I kind of thought, well, I need to find something to do. And then I went back, I revisit everything that I could do. And then that, like making images to share with people, was the thing that I'd say, well, this is what I have to do now from now on. And that was 20 years ago. So
Okay.
20 years ago, I decided to working exclusively in a career of wildlife filmmaker, wildlife cinematographer. And
Hmm.
then from there was the point when I start working documentaries, TV, global TV, and many others, and never stopped.
Yeah, and you are one of the top filmmakers for wildlife in Brazil, or even in the world, underwater and on the ground also. And so, how was your training during this period? Like you have this previous experience, but I mean, really learning to work with the high end cameras. Did you have any people who taught you? You went to some school, or you are self taught? How did you evolve?
Well, for me, I think it's a mix because I was self-taught. Like I had some mentors in the way. Like in the diving, I had someone that I met like on the dive center that was the filmmaker there, and he gave me his first lessons. And the next dive center, I've learned a little more. And I was curious enough to read about, to see photography, see references, and start working. And
Sure.
I believe, I believe I might have a natural talent for framing and vision, like for me, because it's easy to learn about how to frame, how to get that, and work with light. But that was never enough. I never realized that was something I had. I can say that now, but that was never conscious about that. So I always wanted to learn more. So since the beginning and until now, I'm always learning. So I start doing workshops as many as possible with many. filmmakers. Every time I had the opportunity, I would go to a workshop and spend time with them, spend time with on trips that this photographers guide sometimes, and work straight like on TV, on documentaries. So I started working in a production company early, and from there I start going into like Congress, Wild Screen, which is like a film festival in Bristol that has the most of the wildlife filmmakers in the world. I think it's the biggest wildlife film festival in the world. Jackson Wild, which happens in the US. So every time I had opportunity to go, I would immerse myself in that world and learn, get as
Sure.
much of reference as possible, and try to imitate those frames. So for me, the creative process has three stages. Like the first, the imitation, where you try to imitate the frame. So you see a blue planet, you watch, oh, a nice frame. Let me try to do the same. And then
Okay.
from there, you start learning. And then the second step is kind of, you integrate that kind of, now I know how it works. And the third step is innovation, which was for me always my goal to then start sharing my way to see it. So not to copy, but then with all those reference and now with everything inside me, how can I create something new? So this was kind of the process, which is still happening. I never stop learning. So every next week I'll be also in a congress trying to learn something new, try to share experience, and through collective group of people, we always evolve as a photographer, cinematographer, or storytellers.
Yes, probably that's what makes this third step, this big leap, which is
Hmm.
innovate and create your own style, is what
Hmm.
differentiates you maybe from many very good and talented filmmakers that you have in Brazil. And what about like your influences? Because I believe when you were young or even the beginning of your career, you watching like the BBC documentaries or other productions or Discovery or Nat Geo. So any specific like cinematographers or directors, filmmakers that influenced you in the early stages or still today, like in your process?
Oh yeah, the beginning, like as an underwater photographer, I had Howard Hall was a big influence for me. He's a big underwater cinematographer. He does like IMAX movies, and he's focused on behavior. So he always gets amazing behavior in a very good light and always good framing. So, and the way he tells stories, connecting with music, not a lot of narration, but more nature in telling the story. I always loved that. So some French films underwater. I don't remember the directors, but I remember seeing some like the French way to film things, which are very arty
Yeah.
and less like kind of the the kind of shows, commercial shows that we work most of the time.
Yeah.
And I've always liked the way like nature can tell us the story itself. We don't need to have like the God's voice on the top of that and telling our story on the top of nature. So that kind of influenced me a lot how I make things. And in Brazil, Haroldo Paulo Jr. was
Okay.
one big influence of me. He was like a mentor for me. Like we had the pleasure to work together a lot. The biggest influence a road has on me is the connection with nature, not just the image, like how
Sure.
passionate he was about nature and the animals, how happy you are for being with nature. Like you are in that place, like getting eaten by mosquitoes and ticks, and it's hot, it's sweaty, and then it's like it's not comfortable. But you don't want to be anywhere else in the world. You want to be there with your camera, and when something happens in front of you, like man, this everything is worth. So this connection, this like pleasure to be with nature, we shared a lot. So, and that makes the difference. I think when you go to the field and you are there, nowhere else, and in same rhythm, connect with nature, you get better results than when we go with that like studio mindset and try to get everything fast and then try to kind of build everything, try to control what you can't control. We can't control nature. So instead of align with nature, which takes a little more time to get results, but once you get the best results, you get there and try to control everything to to make what you plan, and I think doesn't work like really well. Sometimes it works, but it's not the best way to extract the best from nature, because nature will give you so many gifts if you are connected and you start thinking ahead of time, like you started getting in the right place at the right time to get the best results if you are aligned, if you are one with nature. And
Sure,
today
it's
my
a learning
inspiration.
process, and I mean, we used to say when we work with wildlife filmmaking that the animals, they don't read the script, right? They
Yeah.
don't know what you need
Yeah.
to film, so you have to be patient. And but also for example, this background that you have on biology helps a lot, I believe, because you have to understand the behavior, as you said, to tell the story. Sometimes unexpected things happen. You have some luck, of course, but you know what you need to capture, the behavior of the animal, or what. So this background helps you, because also when other filmmakers, or when we work also with wildlife filmmakers, usually we have the assistance of a scientist or biology or someone specialist on the animals or the area. How does it work for you? Is this essential?
It helps a lot for understanding what you're shooting. You understand what is happening, the connections, everything is connected. So having the knowledge, the basic knowledge of biology, you kind of know what you're doing and how the animal behaves. And but of course, people think, "Ah, you're a biologist, you understand everything about nature." We don't understand anything. Now it's mostly, especially because I never worked as a biologist. I never did like a research. I
Okay.
went straight into diving and filming, and kind of I know and always did studied about what I liked. So the marine ecosystems, and then more mountains and forests, and now I'm studying a lot of botanic, a lot of plants, and that helped for sure. But now this is kind of, we rely on the scientists that we work because they know much more, and that helps with the conversation. When I'm talking with a scientist, I can understand what he says because we use the same dialect, like the biology dialect. So it's good to understand more, because more you know, better you can extract for a sequence. And so it's mostly, it always, knowledge always helps. More you know,
Right.
more you can do, definitely. Like, just coming back from like the inspiration you're talking, like from now, most of my inspiration, it's not coming from the biology or nature films. I'm trying to get inspiration from like other Hollywood films,
Okay.
series, arts, like painters, music, like going from other areas and try to extract something from there and then apply into nature.
Interesting. Tell me a little bit
That's
more about it. Yeah. How does it work? Because yeah, it's interesting. Nice take.
so like we ever like, I think there's the wildlife filmmaking for me right now, it's kind of stuck in a style that it's not evolving much. It's relying too much on technology. But the way
Okay.
to tell stories, it's almost the same. It's been the same for 10, 15 years. It's hard to see something new. But Hollywood or any like the Brazilian cinema, it's evolving a lot. So the way this directors tells a story, there's amazing filmmakers, they have much more like budget and access to, and sometimes freedom to create something new. And if you go there and you find an interesting frame, an interesting way to tell a story, an interesting script, you might get that, and you can try to apply that in your filmmaking. So for instance, like when Breaking Bad came out, I love the kind of way they edit and film, the different frame angles they use in the series. The first thing I was, when I was doing my show, like Domingão do Faustão, or now I'm doing Band Planeta Incrível.
The Brazilian
Uh,
television, right?
yeah, in the Brazilian television, I try to make the same kind of things, like have a GoPro in a unique angle and have like this POV shots and
Okay.
like unique camera angles that I would never find in nature shows and then applied. And also music inspires me a lot. So trying to, especially in the way I'm filming, I'm thinking about the soundtrack already and trying to blend and do something more depending on the sequence that can help the pace you're filming. It's not very objective. It's
I
very
see.
subjective, like
Mm-hmm.
art. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like when you film a song, this sequence is kind of more poetic. So what kind of music I want to use on this? What I can use, and then I can try to film in a pace and find angles that will blend well with that music, and it's like painting and music, something like that.
Sure. So to accomplish these shots that you challenge yourself to get like a new perspectives and everything, let's talk a little bit about gear, like the kind of gear. What's your main, top kits today, or main kit, your current kit, like for topside or underwater and drones? What are your favorite tools now that you're using? Of course, it changed from assignment to location to animal, what kind of behavior, but guide us through a little bit what kind of gear, or how do you approach choosing your gear?
Well, it's for me. It's basically the same gear. Most of the situations on land, we use the red cameras most of the time. I have a V Raptor Gemini that I was just using in the Amazon with
And
a
what are
CN20
the
lens.
characteristics of the red camera that makes you choose it?
It's very versatile. Like you can do
Okay.
so much with one camera. So I can shoot 8K, 6K, 4K, up to 240
Okay.
frames per second. And it's a very reliable now. It's very reliable and like a workhorse camera that can resist the field. So most of the versatility that I can use with the camera, it's the first thing, like being able to shoot multiple frame rates and multiple angles and use with different lenses. So I can have like a Canon lens and then I can on a Canon mount and then have a PL on the same camera. So easy to exchange. So that helps a lot. And then I have available also the underwater housing for that camera, so I can switch from top side, put it in the housing, and jump in the water and get underwater footage with the same camera.
Gotcha.
And so that's mostly reliability and versatility was the most important thing for these cameras. And I've been working with that since the beginning. And
Yeah.
one thing that is really important, the industry accepts this really well. So
Yeah.
it's not because I love this camera, but the industry is the main camera. So to rent for the productions, to there's no there's I have no problem. Most of the productions, wildlife films use red, so it's
Yeah.
easy
Okay.
to sell it. Like so, it's the most popular camera in my industry in this case.
Perfect.
So
And
it's a commercial success. So
yeah. And what
that's
about
the
the?
lens. The lens is the CN20, which is a 51,000 plus 1.5 extender. So it's let's say 50 to 1500 millimeters, which is a big long lens. And we can put a picture here so you can see it. It's uh it's the main unit for topside all over the world. So every wildlife filming will have a kit like a red on a CN20 or other camera on a CN20 on a high tripod, like on a strong tripod like O'Connor, Sassler, all these big heads, heavy.
Yeah,
Of
you
course,
need
it's
it
pretty
to
heavy
be
to carry
stable,
around. Yeah,
but you have to carry
to
around, right?
but
Yeah.
there's no other thing that can hold that lens because you can shoot from long distance and you can have a close up, a medium shot, a wide shot. You can tell the story from the same point. But that is what I call the classical way of doing wildlife filmmaking. You put a
Right.
tripod in one place, long lens, and just shoot from everywhere. that's what I would say classical, which is guaranteed. When I go to filming something, that would be my first choice. I start doing that, then I can tell the story with that lens. That's it. I got it. All the shots are in the bucket. Now let's improve. And then I start using wide angles, like wider angles that I can get closer to the animal, sliders, and it's trying to make a little more add movement and different angles, unique angles that will make the history a little more interesting or can immerse the audience into nature.
To get
So
more
the
intimate with
long,
the
yeah, very
animals, right?
intimate. And then for us, we have like kind of between 24, 35 millimeters eyes. So it's kind of we see in wide angle. I have used a long lens, you go tight shots, you know it's kind of square. But when you
Yeah.
use wide angle, you're there with the animal. Then when you're watching, you feel that more, you're more immersed into that world. And that's always my approach. Basically because it came from underwater. Because when I shoot underwater, there's no long lens,
No.
there's no zoom. You need
Uh-huh.
to be close. So everything underwater is learning how to get close and be like with the animal very next to the lens. So I try to do when it's possible the same thing on top side. For
Perfect.
underwater, I use nautical housings for my reds. So I have all these, the same cameras, like I have multiple lens. And then drones, of course. Drones are one of the main things. Like I've been shooting drones since the beginning. My first drone, I built a octo myself. We
Really?
would buy a kit. Yeah, I bought a kit that I have to build myself. And right after came DJI and I bought the first Phantom. And since then I kept evolving with all the drones. And now I have a Mavic Pro Cine and it is great. I had inspired. I think it's too big.
Too
Some
big.
productions still use, but I think it's too
Yeah.
big. Like and scare the animals. And the Mavic 3 and 4, they can do so much. And that it's good enough for the production. The results are good enough. The quality is pretty good, and we can do amazing things with those little drones. And of course, it's smaller. You can do riskier shots. You can push the limits and the boundaries a little more.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's mostly that. When I don't have the heavy cameras, which is the reds, I use Canon R5C, which is my. I've been shooting Canon for a long time. Most of my lenses are Canon, and with some Laowas now. Laowas are pretty good lenses.
Yeah.
And then for macro shots, which is another thing I'm getting into more now, macro, going very deep into the macro world. And Laowas are great, but always combined with a Canon camera like the R5C. And I have underwater kits for the R5C as well. And yeah, this is
Awesome.
basically most of the gear.
Yeah, no, that's great. And a very important part of not only wildlife filmmaking, but filmmaking in general is like the sound. How do you approach the sound? Do you do it yourself? You always have like a sound recordist with you. You direct what kind of sound that you need. How do you approach this? Because it's essential in wildlife. If you watch a scene without the ambience, the sound, it's like doesn't it's not the same, right?
Yeah. Sound is so important. It's as important as the image, I think. Like if you have like good image, if the sound is bad, it feels really weird.
Yeah,
It can ruin the whole film and shot.
exactly.
But for most of the people, some people get really surprised that most of the wildlife sequence, the sound is built afterwards. It's mostly Foley.
Okay.
Like it's not even filmed like at the same time. Everything was mostly Foley created afterwards on a like a, on a
On a studio,
production house on a
production
studio.
house, right? Uh-huh.
So yeah,
Yeah.
what we do like always like now I was in the Amazon films the peccaries and they're very noisy and loud. So I had one camera that would use I had a microphone outside and would sync sometimes even to lapels put it somewhere in the area and trying to have sound references in the images.
Okay.
And then I would record like for 10 minutes the ambient sound and have that in the pocket, and then you could use to build the sequence. So when you create the sequence and edit, the sound is almost like no sound. And
Okay,
then you try to recreate the sound that you have in the image in post.
perfect.
But you need the reference, but it's really rare because usually you're shooting off speed and then there's no sound
Of course.
already.
Yeah.
And most of the camera people, they don't care much about sound where you're shooting, and it's just you just need a microphone up on the side. I have some pictures when I'm shooting. The microphone is on a stand on the side just to capture the sound, but it's not on sync most of the times. It's doing its thing, and so it's not common to have a sound person in the field. It's mostly done by us, or you can do like shoot the whole sequence one day at 10 days. 9 days, you shoot everything. And then the last day, oh, let's get some sound. And then you do like 10 minutes of sound and that's it.
Okay. Do some
But when it's
ambience
possible,
or
yeah,
reference.
when it's possible, or you're doing a bird singing or something that needs sound, and then you need to worry
Yeah.
more about sound. But most of the times, it's just like references to be so you can do in post.
Perfect. We have worked together on the production of Brazil natural history for Terra Mater a
Mhm.
few years ago, and I wanted to show to our audience two stunning sequences that you filmed, and then I would like you to tell us a little bit how you captured that and how you planned for this filming. So let's have a look, okay?
Mhm.
So this was shot in Fernando de Noronha. You had to capture this sequence. So tell me a little bit how you, if you knew already this behavior, how did you approach the shooting to get these shots?
So this was the first time I shot that sequence, which was a incredible sequence shot for the first time. This was never seen before in any film, which is the tide pools in Fernando de Noronha. When the waters recede, like in low tide, the crabs do a little migration towards the algae that are on the far edge of the tide pools. But to get there, they face like predators like the moray and the octopus. So they're there waiting to capture them. And then the moray would jump out of the water to grab one of the crabs. And that was like something unique and pretty hard to film. Also, the octopus would move out of the water, which is unique. But they are adapt to that environment that changes a lot, like the tide pools. So they're very well adapted on these places to capture. So we would spend like every low tide on this place trying to capture the behavior and mostly learning about these animals, because every time you have a behavior that has never seen before, never shot before, you don't have any reference, you don't know how to get it. So there's a lot of learning process, and in this case there was no science, no scientists working with these animals to help us. So we're there learning, looking, trying to see where it happens, trying to predict where that can happen, which is like we would see that happen very often. Like we would see the behavior, but we were never at the right place with the camera. So it took us a little while to get the to be on the right place and learning. But after a few days, we would capture like a little piece here, a little piece there, and then get the main behavior, which is the moray jumping out of the water, which is we will happen very soon. Now it's on the sequence. Like we would be here, we found this place where the animal was there, and then there it is. We would see them jumping, and we were there ready and waiting for that to happen.
And also the
So
octopus capturing the crab. It's another.
yeah, that was another like another bonus, because the moray was the main goal. And when you
Ah,
saw the
okay.
octopus also doing, it was whoa, that was great. And it was like a really good sequence, like a very popular sequence for this film. This was the coast episode. And the interesting, I had the opportunity to film that again A few times later, I did for my show, Brazilian Wild Brazil, the coast, and then Blue Brazil, and recently for the Secret of the Octopus, where we kind of focus on the octopus instead of the mooring you. So, and every time I went there, I could improve a little more the sequence, and everything started with this one. Like, was the first time shot, many people would see it, say, wow, that's a great shot, let's do it again. So it inspired other shows to do the same sequence, which is it's pretty good. Now every time we have opportunity to go back and try it again, we already know, so we can improve a little more. I think that was 2011 or
11.
2012.
Okay.
11 was like 14 years ago.
Long
The
time.
long time. It passes very fast. So, and then we already like the way we shot with red. And there's a funny story. It was one of the first productions we were shooting with red almost all the time. And I was on the edge of the tide pool, and a big wave came. It just like came all over me, and the camera stopped working. So we kind of ruined one red on this shot.
Really?
And yeah, we had to send for maintenance and repair afterwards. But I remember having to go back to Sao Paulo, like do a flight to get a new camera and come back to finish the shot. And we got the main shot afterwards. So we kept insisting, and that's something important. Like even if you have problems in you, will find problems every time you're shooting wildlife. I think shooting wildlife, 90% of the time is solving problems. 1% is shooting,
Gotcha.
especially
Yeah,
on
that's
shoots
right.
like that. 99% you're trying to solve problems, trying to find a way to get the image, and then 1% you go and shoot and you get what you need. So I remember like losing my main camera and then have to go back to São Paulo and fly back to Noronha. And 2 days after getting back, we got the shot. So uh, keep insisting all the time, no matter the challenges and difficulties, but never give up, and we eventually get what we need.
Sure. And there's another sequence that we're going to watch right now, which I remember for this production, the Hamater had worked with another production company for a long time. They accomplished like, let's say, 95% of the series because it's many episodes like the coast of Brazil, the Amazon forest, the Pantanal, the wetlands, but they needed specific sequences. This sequence here was one, and then we produced it with you. And the other one was this one that we're going to watch right now with the rotating dolphins. That I don't know why they said it was very difficult or very hard to get this behavior, or they didn't have it. Do you remember why?
The difficulty was to get the rotating on the slow motion and stabilize it.
Ah, okay,
But
right.
I remember most of this sequence was already filmed by what Light and Shadow was doing, and Christian Baumeister. He filmed this. He could get some nice slow motion rotating
Yes.
dolphins, and they had film underwater already, some stuff, and they missed just a little parts, little details of the algae game or something that they needed to complete the story. So it was mostly like this part was mostly a pickup shot to finish the sequence, and that helps a lot in wildlife filmmaking. You have most of the sequence, but you don't have those main shots that connect everything together. So I was there mostly focusing on the crabs and other, because we did like the mabuya, the little lizard sequence. We did some birds. We did some like was I remember was like 15 days in Noronha. We did a lot because we would work low tides with the crabs, and then we had time for everything, diving, looking for octopus. Also, we did the octopus on the water, and then like 2 days to get the dolphins and get a little more of the algae game. And that was like we had lucky. Sometimes in nature, you have lucky to be with the right animal. Finding the right animal is important because some animals, they don't care about us. They don't want to be filmed. But when you find the friendly one, it's where we get everything. And just like a few minutes with them, get all the shots that we need.
What does it mean to be a wildlife filmmaker in Brazil today? How does the industry evolve, and what are the biggest challenges that remain, like filming wildlife here in Brazil?
Well, in Brazil, I think the challenge are the same as always. Like we don't have, it's not something really popular in Brazil. I think a lot of people see wildlife films, but they all come from like international productions that come to Brazil and film and then show in prime time in UK. It's very popular in England, which comes most of the wildlife productions come from England, and most of our clients are from UK, and because it's very popular there, and they put a lot of money. And in Brazil, you don't have that. You don't have like one TV show or two or three focus on wildlife every week or every day on TV. We have segments like the one I have like on Band. Yeah, I had Domingo. It's an open channel, but it's like 15 minutes every week. It's one thing. You used to have like Global Reporter or anything that sometimes would show wildlife. That was my wildlife show back then when I was a kid, and was
Yeah.
totally different. Like first approach to wildlife, and sometimes,
Yeah, I
and
remember in the past Global Reporter they did a lot. Even I still have somewhere in my archive recorded VHS with Jacques Cousteau in the Amazon. I don't
yeah,
know if you've seen that for
they
Global.
would buy these like products and then show on Global
Yeah.
Reporter. Even like some BBC programs, sometimes they would buy Planet Earth and then they would edit and show on Global Report. So that was
Yeah.
like for us that didn't have access. There was I'm talking about before cable TV even. We would watch nature films on Global Reporter,
Yeah.
and it's still there. I don't know how it's a frequent they show wildlife, but it's not common anymore. So you have segments, but you don't have a consistent uh, TV program on main TV. Like in UK, it's main TV, it's not cable. Talking about cable, we don't even have National Geographic anymore on cable in Brazil. Like since February, we don't have it. So there's no space. We have on the streamings, the streamers have like some wildlife films, but there it's a very small amount of people that watch. So that makes everything difficult. It's not. It's hard to live, to survive, like to make a living out of this in Brazil. It's only in wildlife. Only a few people can do, and it's mostly working for international productions. But we have the most amazing nature in the whole world. I think Brazil is amazing. Like what we have here, we should like we should show more to people because sometimes we go to a place to film an amazing behavior and the community that lives there, they don't know about that. So I think there is space. There is a lot of things that the broadcasters, the streamers could do to open more space. And there's so many talented people now that are producing in the same quality that you see outside. Before it was really hard because we didn't have talent people, or we had talent, but we don't have professionals ready to shoot in the same quality. So we needed the good professionals to come here and film. But now we have so many people doing that. I think it's not a lot. I mean, we can count like in 10 names, 20, but there's more and more emerging, but they are
Sure.
able to do with quality. So, and they're all storytellers that could tell nature stories their own way. They just need more space. And, but I think the way the system is working now is kind of, it's not the right way for wildlife filmmaking. I think the industry is kind of killing itself somehow by not innovating, not having any space, and going too much commercial and surrendered by algorithms and all these numbers. And nature doesn't work like that. We need to have nature. It's always good when people see nature, they always love to watch, but you need to make our own parts and put there. We need to give that space. I think all TV that should have like 10, 20% of the TV just to show nature, because it's important for us to see it, to teach people about nature. Otherwise, we will see most of these problems, like we have climate change, global warming happen even more, because we are so disconnected from nature that when we talk about that, people don't relate that what happens is because we disconnect ourselves from nature. And having more space for filming like this, not talking about tragedies, but showing the beauty of nature, people will fall in love, and naturally we do the right thing when we to prevent all these problems. So yeah, that's kind of what makes hard, because we don't have enough space to show everything. And the shift in the industry, that is kind of hard for everyone. Everything's changing very fast, especially with AI now. People don't know what to do. And then I think maybe we will find a way to deal with that in the future. But now I think everybody should have an effort, get together and fight for more nature space on TV.
Great. And you you started this year an initiative like Mantiqueira Wild, like a wildlife filmmaking course that you started that might help in this process, like getting new talents and teaching them to film and to get the storytelling and improving the quality. Tell me a little bit this initiative. How did you realize, oh, I have to do it for the next generation of Brazilian wildlife filmmakers? Why is it so important?
So Mantiqueira Wild as an initiative too, that we've, like, for me, always we would have the opportunity and sometimes the privilege to go to Bristol or Jackson Wild and learn from the big names in the industry. And by spending time with them, like, that would inspire so much me. And every time I came out of that experience, I was like, wow, I felt so much motivated, and you can elevate the way we think in art. And then I would apply that right away. And then I say, like, we don't have that here. We don't have, the closest we have is in Chile. Santiago Wild
Okay.
has something that it's a wildlife filmmaking festival and labs that happens once a year, that people go there and get that blast of motivation and learning everything. Like, they learn a year worth of knowledge in 1 week.
Okay.
And so we say we need to do something here, like in Brazil, in our own way, our own terms. So we kind of like get together with this group, Santiago Wild, Jackson Wild. That's why I call it Mantiqueira Wild. It's kind of the same kind of umbrella
Okay.
of way of sharing. And it's more like an immersion than a course. It is a course, of course, but it's a way to connect with nature, to go there, connect first, and then show from inside out how you can tell the story of nature. It's not like how the industry wants you to film. It's
Okay.
how you want to tell a story for the industry. And
Interesting.
then forming new people and talented people to have this ability. Of course, we learn all the techniques that you need to tell that story, but it's mostly how nature is shows to you. How can you add your own talent? Because everyone comes from different backgrounds. If to learn skills now, if you go spend a time in YouTube an hour every day, you learn everything. You don't have to teach that anymore. YouTube has everything. Just spend time there. We can guide you where to look for it, but we don't want to spend time. We want to train your own eyes, like your how you see it. And then that needs connection, inspiration, and a lot of sharing, a community sharing, like, because I'm not there to teach. I'm there to learn as well, because I
All
can
right.
learn from someone that is starting, that has something that I never thought about. So this sharing experience, when you are focused on that environment, that is magical. That's like everybody leaves, elevates the art. Like, we elevate, like we create something different after that. And that energy it's what we try to create on every experience. So, and with that, creating a community, because a community of people that are very inspired by nature want to tell the stories, because I can see everyone that passed through Mantiqueira Wild, what they done afterwards. It's another level, and they
Next
keep
level.
doing. And sometimes people feel lost. I say this is a career. You don't have a straight path. You don't have an university. You don't have a place to go if you want to be it. And sometimes you feel lost. You feel like just myself trying to thrive in this industry, and I don't know. This way, you can. Okay, you're not alone. Come here. We can guide you through the process and then show the way. And then when you feel lost, you come, and then we can help each other to build this industry. You asked before, like the challenge here. It's also because we don't have an industry of wildlife filmmaking in Brazil. That industry doesn't exist. We have like glimpses of that. It exists in Bristol and US and Japan, and NHK has a strong area of that, and some other countries, Germany, and but Brazil, it still needs to build that industry. And with this way, this vision that we share, all the people that are organizing that with me, we share this vision that it's a connection with nature. It's not to serve commerce, it's not to feed the algorithm, is to share the passion with nature, how important is to tell nature story to people so people can fall in love with nature and care more about our planet.
And it's interesting because it's a big challenge. Of course, the film industry in
Hmm.
general here in Brazil. I mean, feature films. We relay a lot of government incentives. Some films, sometimes, for example, Kleber Mendonça, now the Secret Agent, and Ainda Estou Aqui, the Brazilian movie that
Hmm.
Fernando Torres went to the Oscars. So from time to time, you have like amazing directors like Walter Salles or João Moreira Salles. Documentary is harder, and then wildlife even harder, like you said. But you produced it yourself, like Brasil Azul, Blue Brazil, and Wild Brazil. So is this produced by your production company? Tell me a little bit. How did you challenge this? How did you face these challenges to produce yourself and to deliver, how to go through the process, like from the idea, then developing the process, getting the money, and putting on the screen or TV.
Well, we had, I think, the industry is harder now, but we had some good years. Back then, when you had the quote that 30% of the productions for any international broadcast needed to be filmed in Brazil every year, need to be produced in Brazil, that gave opportunities to many production companies to do content here. And remember that when
Yes.
like we
Great
had
point.
like Nat Geo, when we had Nat Geo, that was part of the Fox group, they could 70% could come from outside and 30% of the content need to be produced in Brazil. And that could be anything. Could be wildlife, could be those cop shows like airport, something like and or pet, the pet guys, and like anything that fits on the Net Geo program. And we had a good connection with Net Geo since the beginning. And when we co-produce, like we did a co-production with a Canada company called Untamed Brazil, that was 2015 and 16. We had the rights in Brazil and we sold that to Net Geo Brazil.
Okay.
So they showed that on the show Brazilian. We had 10 1 hour episodes about the Pantanal. And when they put in the program, that was a huge success. And the people see, like, people love to see it, Brazilian things on Brazilian television, because that was not common. The only thing that we had was the Brazilian natural history that would show sometimes, but was not always being showed here. Showed all over the world, but not here.
Not here. Yes, I
Not
remember.
here. And that's interesting. Like, I think this here is the first place you need to show. And And then this was success. And then they asked for a second season, and then eventually a third season, which was the Coast. That was, I think, was my first big production that I was ready to do it, and I have a very good connection with the coast because of the diving and living in many places. So this series, 8 episodes of an hour about the coast, was at the beginning the biggest wildlife production made by a Brazilian production company, 100% with Brazilian budget and Brazilian crew. There was no international connection on this one. 100% made in Brazil, and was really, really good. At the end, we're really happy with the results. The difficulties, like a production company coming from UK, their budgets are huge, like millions,
Yeah.
and our budget is always very limited. And I still don't know how we can do it. We do it because we're Brazilian. We know how to do things with low budget. But the budget for a sequence that lasts 3 minutes on our K productions is the budget that we have sometimes for 2 hours, two shows.
Incredible.
And
And you
then we had
managed to
like,
do that. Yeah.
yeah, we have like
You
one
have.
week to do an hour, which for nature is almost impossible. So, like, 1 week or let's say 10 days for an hour in nature would do like 80 hours no 80 days of shooting days, 80 days
Okay.
in the field to shoot 8 hours is not a lot. Like, it's not at all for wildlife because you can't predict when the animal is it's behaving. You can sometimes we have nothing in one single day, but we didn't have that luxury. So for us was to train our eyes and everything could be a story.
Gotcha.
So, and appreciate that anything can be a story. It's not like it's not just about that animal, it's about anything that can happen. And
Okay.
then when you start training your eyes, that we start turning the ordinary into extraordinary. That animal that is always there, that people sometimes don't care. If it's easy to film, it's our obligation to make it extraordinary, use different angles, different lens, and show that animal in a different way that it's makes it standing and people can relate it because it's not something, it's not a polar bear that someone never saw. It's that little bird that's always in your backyard that you never paid attention, and now you discover something, a unique behavior about that bird, that next time you see it you're going to spend time looking at it and waiting for that, and maybe you see it with your own eyes. So this beauty is in our backyard. Every Brazilian, like, if you look in the backyard, there's no window that you open, there's not a bird. In 10 minutes, you see or hear a bird anywhere, even in the middle of Sao Paulo.
True.
So showing that to people, so how interesting are these animals in the backyard, it's always been like one of our main goals. And this gave us the opportunity. This approach made this program very successful. So, and then, like, once we did that, we did every year, we would have the opportunity to do one more. So after doing Brazil, and then well, why not exporting and going to other countries? So then we did Mexico. We did the same series in Mexico. Then we did Argentina,
Awesome.
and then Nat Geo was cut. So, and then you see the industry kind of got saturated a little bit. I don't know, like, it shift, the industry shift, and then
Yeah.
space. It's in right now. Nature films in the down moment, like we're
Really.
in the down moment. Sometimes it bounces back. It's always been like that, but right now we live in the low moment of the industry. So everybody's kind of complaining. A lot of people no jobs, but we managed to keep working. So give us time also to create something new, to go back and try to make our own stories.
Yeah, sometimes these crisis moments makes you move in different directions and try to find different approaches, like you did on this project. It's amazing to learn how you managed to do it. And something that we talked a lot about along the show, we are almost finishing it, is like conservation, wildlife conservation that you film. Also, what inspired you is like to tell these stories, to make people get closer to the nature. Now we live in big cities, most of the people in the world so disconnected, even with the birds in the window. I mean, we don't really connect to that. So I would like to know how you see, like, because you have traveled on not only filming in Brazil but around the world, seeing conservation models like public parks or sometimes private initiatives, local communities like gathering together to preserve the nature, the wildlife. Tell me a little bit what some good examples that you can tell us that you've seen around the world or in Brazil that really work to preserve, to conserve like the nature that you have.
So yeah, we I think most of we do nature films and we depend to have like healthy ecosystem to film. Otherwise, we have no subjects. And we've seen many examples of people that are real heroes for nature. In our shows, like the Brazilian the Coast, we would dedicate one episode, the last episode, to the guardians of nature, and
Very
they're
good.
always good examples of people that fight daily to preserve. And I was just in the Amazon in Cristalino, which is a lodge and also a reserve, like that was created by this amazing person, Victoria. We spent some time with her. She's 83 years old and is still like pumping like with energy and motivation to preserve and do more for the forest. So we have the privilege to see this person, like people who are very passionate about nature and doesn't care about facing the whole community that goes to one way to say no, we need to preserve. And because of them, they inspire other people to do. Now there's a whole team, this whole her whole families. They're working with her and trying to preserve. And it's one amazing place. It's the best place in the world to see nature and animals, Amazon animals. You can see, usually go to the Amazon, you don't see, it's a beautiful landscape, but no animals there. You see the animals. You have the opportunity because it's all there. So, and many other projects like Projeto Tamar project with the sea turtles. They did so much for the sea turtles that the Baleia Jubarte also. 10 years ago, I could not imagine going to Ilhabela, which is close here, and seeing humpback whales like during the season. And now it's guaranteed to see
Really.
every day if you go there from June, July, August. We did in September, late in the season. When imagine to see four, like, and it's there's so many good people there working to protect this whale, and the numbers have been increasing. So they are a good example. If we give enough chance to nature, uh, nature bounces back. The animals will bounce back always. But for that, we need to inspire people to reconnect with nature. That starts like if you if you do better with kids, like since young kids, you take kids to nature, that connection we never lose. Like we never like keep bring your kids to parks and national parks, connect them with nature. And through, I think wildlife films do a lot of this work too. So we need more of that, more wildlife content being shown on TV. It doesn't matter if we'll do as good as like the crime show or the
Yeah,
now is
true
the what
crime.
is the true crimes that are
Yeah.
the most popular, or the sensationalists and reality that maybe has better ratings because people like to see things that it's not like always like teach something, but maybe the rating will never be as good as this, or like on Disney, for instance, where NetGeo is now. You have to compete with Luke Skywalker, Captain America, and Pixar, or that's are the competition. That's not fair, like in budget or entertainment, but you need to keep that window there open. You need to keep that on TV because that's important for the planet. And it's always, if you give a chance, enough chance, people will reach, you see it, you spend time and watch that, and that will affect the way we relate with nature. So conservation, it starts with understanding, with first passionate, with passion about nature, with your connection with nature, then understanding more. And we need that on every program. We need that like on a Brazilian soap opera. We need nature there, like 30% of the content somehow being there. Once nature and conservation is popular, then we solve all the problems.
No, you're right. And I remember there was this big soap opera in Brazil in the 90s, I think, or Pantanal, was the wetlands about Pantanal with beautiful Jaime Monjardim, I think was the director, right?
Mhm.
With beautiful scenery of the Pantanal. There was a remake on Global TV after
Yeah.
that, also with this. But that's everything. All
Uh,
I can remember that
yeah.
included. I don't know if there was
Uh,
anything else.
yeah, I did the opening for the
You shot
Global
that, right?
Pantanal. I shot the whole opening and some scenes for the TV, and that created a huge impact in Pantanal. People would know about the Pantanal, wanted to go to the Pantanal. The tourism increased, so people would make money with like showing the Pantanal to the other people. So that's really important. It doesn't have to be the team, the whole thing, the team, but like good behavior and connection could be in everything, like how we want to live life, and mostly what we see in TV are bad examples, not good examples. So having that, like, change the mentality of nature films are not just for ratings and to make money, but as important part of we need of our content. This way we have more opportunities to people, to more content, and then we'll maybe in the future be the best rating movies or content ever.
Sure, it's like cultivating this culture of watching
Cultivating this.
with the people, and people love it. People
Exactly.
when they watch, they love it.
Yes.
And there's another take that I would like to hear your thoughts, which is like the artificial intelligence (AI). So, what's the role of AI in wildlife filmmaking? Can you produce like a AI wildlife film? How is going to be in the in the future? Not now, because the future is now for AI,
The
right?
future is now. Well, I think it's everyone has a different approach or vision. I think AI is here to stay. There's no going back. There's no, in my perspective, we should embrace it as much as we can because it can lower the cost of a production a lot. Will be damages and like jobs and things. I know, but that's, we can avoid that. Of course, we can if we prepare, if we learn about and we start using. Maybe you have more free time. Maybe you can do more with the time that we have available. But I think we'll give opportunities for many people to tell more stories. So I was in a convention this year, and there was a panel about AI, and one of the people in the audience asked, okay, I myself now with a low budget can create an amazing stories that you guys with a big studios can create now. And now I can create the same story. How can you differentiate yourself now
Okay.
if I can do my own story just maybe as better than you, just sitting on my living room or my bedroom, like with a computer learning. And that's a really good point. Like you give you opportunities because I think in post production, AI can faster so much the process of color and sound and everything that's already used a little bit of AI or this part. You can make that process fast. Script writing and storyboarding. I think now with AI, you can create your film just before you start shooting. Make it
Yeah.
all with AI. Watch the film, polish, and then go shoot. Like
Okay.
that will reduce the cost of shooting for sure. You don't have to plan a lot. You know what you need, and then you go straight for that. And whatever you have a surprise, you add to the element. So using that, embracing that, will make you give you more possibilities. But again, it's all about the art, about our vision, and that's something we say in Mantiqueira Wild. AI will replace videographers or professionals that work for commerce because commerce doesn't care about art; it cares about profit. and AI will make more money, make cheaper whatever we do. But someone that creates art can't be replaced by AI. But you can use AI to improve your art in your vision or to make your vision better. So if you train yourself to elevate your art more and more and more, if AI there was always room for us to work and share even more about what we do, about nature, or any other aspect. And it's here. We should learn more, and won't be easy because I think the way we're talking now, the world we live now, will be totally different in 5 years. Will be in some good and bad aspect, and we need to adapt fast. I know
It's
there's
like
some
our
bad
nature.
reason.
It's like we are
Yeah,
part of nature. We have to
yeah.
adapt, right?
But we need to see it in a positive way. We need to use it in a positive way because there will be used in a very bad and negative way. But if you let only them to use that, then we're doomed. So we
There's
need
nothing
to do
left,
it
right?
the
Yeah.
other side, and then we need to embrace and tell good stories, good art, and be open for these new stories, the new way to tell stories. And because now everything, the industry is so much focused in the audience. They're also gonna like that. It's gonna be this, the numbers, the algorithms. And that's kind of like art is the opposite of that. We don't care about the audience for the sake of the audience. We want to do the best we can to create something new so the audience will then accept or not. And then that's when you make something different. Most of the big films were very never care about they're gonna like this, they don't like this, change that. When you have too much of that, we are not creating art, we're creating content, and we are oversaturated with content. We don't need more content, we need more art, we need more artists, we need different visions, we need fresh stories. That's what we need, and AI can help us to get to share more and to produce more.
This differentiation that you made from art to content is essential. Really, thank you for that. It's very inspiring also for us who are working on the industry, right? So, as our final question, I think we had I had a couple of more questions, but we might need another episode or more episodes to talk to you for about so many things. But I want to know. So we are recording this on December 2025. It will probably be on YouTube on 2026. So what's next for Cristian Dimitrius in 2026? What kind of art content are you going to produce next year? What are you planning to do? Your own productions or clients, or what's next for this year?
Wow. It's been, I think, 25 was great, was one of the best years. We've been working so much since like the last 10 years was so busy and gave us so much opportunities to do more in different places. And every time we do something, we learn more. And I've been in the process and refining the way I shoot and refine the way I tell stories. And this process is getting to a point that it's time to create something new, something different. And I have an idea that I need to work. So I hope in 2026 I work on my next film, and it's a new project, it's a new way to tell a story. It's something very different than what I've seen. I've been chasing that for a while now, a different way to tell a story. And but I've been so busy shooting and doing other stuff that I never had time to. I try to incorporate in every shoot this style or film and tell the story, but I don't have the control in the editing to make that happen. So I've been training for that. So everything that I my whole career, 20 years of training, I want to put on a film now. But I already have, like, for the first 4 months, I already have trips. So I'm going to Antarctica in January,
Okay.
going to Cuba to shoot crocodiles in February. I'm going to Boston for a conference in March, and then Singapore for another conference in April. So I've seen my years already getting busy. There's another production in Brazil that will be working in 26. But my main goal is to have free time to work on my project. And it's a project I want to do like independent, so I can have freedom to create, and that requires time. It requires like a little investment,
Sure.
and we do it on our own, so we can show what can be done. And through connections and through we have access to nature, so it's just going on our backyard and try to create that, and then sharing this new vision of the world. So stay tuned because I will be working on that a lot this year.
Can't wait to see this on the screen, Christian.
Yeah,
So
me too.
thank you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you very much for sharing your journey and your insights with us. Your work
Welcome.
has been a source of inspiration, not just for us filmmakers, but also for anyone who loves nature and believes like in the power to transform the world we live in, like to make a better place for everyone. So, congratulations on your uh, work, and I hope to that you accomplish this and many other projects in the future, and also already inviting you to future episodes here at Fixer Brazil podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. It's like I say, it's a pleasure. We could stay here for hours talking, and
Yeah.
but let's do it again. Let's talk about anytime. If I might be here home or maybe be somewhere else, but we can get together and share because it's important. I say we as a human beings, we evolve in human relations by sharing, and sharing it's always the place that we like. This inspired me, this conversation inspired me to go out, get my camera and tell more stories, and I hope everybody that watches also get it inspired to get cameras and tell more stories with the world the way they see it, because this unique way to see it is unique to every single person. So don't be afraid to share your vision because it's unique, and you can add so much to the collective by doing that. So yeah, let's do that again. And yeah,
And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Fixer Brazil podcast to watch more conversations with filmmakers working across Brazil and beyond. See you in the next episode.